Hi, I'm Gary Dawson, and we're going to do a short video demonstration on small batch production soldering. We're going to be putting posts on little earrings that we create for one of our corporate clients here locally in Eugene, Oregon. To begin soldering on posts in a production but somewhat manual mode, the first thing we're going to do is fire scale coat all these objects with our pre-dip. Dipping it in the pre-dip and burning it off like so. And you can do these several pieces at a time if that works out conveniently for you. It's a lot faster that way. And I like to do this both for the objects that I'm soldering onto and for the posts that I'm going to be using. Now these objects have been pre-tumbled, as you can see. Ouch. Fire, hot. Always be aware of hot fire. Okay, those are coated, and now these are a lot harder to do in batches. You can do a couple at a time. It helps to have good squared away tweezers when you're doing this. Okay, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Good. Okay, the second part of this process is going to be align all these in neat little rows, all oriented the same direction, pretty close together. Leave a couple up here on the top. And now I'm going to be picking these posts up with my left hand and using my torch in my right hand. So I want all of these posts oriented the same direction too, so that when I begin soldering, I can go really fast with this process. So I'm going to line all of these up so that I can grab them all the same way when I get ready to actually begin soldering. And these I don't care about having as meticulously positioned as long as they're all oriented the same direction so that I can just zip zap pick them up. Good. Now I'm going to clip some solder and apply little solder chips to each one of these, and then we'll actually begin the soldering. All right, the next thing we're going to do with this little production routine is to clip a bunch of fairly uniform solder chips, and I'm doing this from round wire in this case. And we didn't see in this segment yet. Give myself a little flame on. I'm going to pre-flux my solder. What I'm doing is just dipping this several times in the solder and then burning the my liquid solder off so that the solder itself will be coated with flux before I clip it. Don't need the torch now. 20 solder joints here. You'll be amazed at how fast the solder joints go once we get this set up. Okay, now I really like to use two fluxes. One is a liquid flux, and another product I really like is called gel flux, which is a kind of pasty. It's a pretty toxically benign. Come on, I know there's some in there. Okay, see how it's pretty gooey? And the cool part about that is that it can act almost like a glue to hold your solder chips in place. But it also provides a fluxing action during the soldering process. So we want all these placed where the posts are going to attach. I don't know if you can pick up on this in the video, but something I do a lot is use my little finger as a placement guide. In other words, I'll rest my little finger to give a rest or a fulcrum for the activity that's going on in the rest of my hand here. It makes me so much more steady. If I try and control all the muscles in my arm, clear up to my shoulder, and then down my torso to where my butt contacts the seat, I'm much more likely to be shaky. But if I can use part of my bench as a rest, then you can see that my hands become much more steady. Not drinking a whole bunch of coffee helps, but this is the best trick I know of to keep your hands steady during one of these little micro processes. Okay, we're going to solder posts onto these little production pieces now. Notice how I grab the top of each one. My torch is already lit. I'm using the side of my bench as a rest. And I will notice how I dip the tip into the gel flux, the tip of the post into the gel flux to give it some additional soldering action. I'm going to hold it close, but not in contact with the object until I begin to see the solder just start to flow. And then I bring that in contact, lift it away, and go for the next one. You can see how I'm using that trick of setting my hand. All these little posts are going to get soldered on in just a matter of a minute or two when you set it up for production like this. You don't need to jig. You just need to work as steady as you can and do proper setup. Okay, I got about half a dozen of those things soldered with a slightly wider angle, and now I want to do some pretty close up so that you can actually, maybe you can see a little more detail as the solder is going on there. One thing that's pretty important too is that your hands really do need to be steady as the solder is solidifying. Because if not, you may not get the optimal solder joint. The cool thing about gel flux too that I didn't explain a minute ago is that it doesn't boil and pop. It'll swell up a little bit, but your piece will not tend to fly. Your solder chip will not tend to fly away, which happens with a lot of the liquid fluxes. See, I can use that torch tip for a little readjustment there. Oops, come on guys. Now in that case, I use the heat. I heat it up because that piece of solder had fallen off. I heated up the post just a little bit so the heat on the post would grab the solder, and then I move it back to the piece being soldered and complete the weld. If you don't understand that, talk to me later. Yep. Almost lost that one, but saved it. Good save, Gare. One more. Let's see if I can get all of these done without blowing one. Did I just curse myself? Drop that off. Place it again, and we're good to go. Okay, thanks for watching this series on production soldering.